Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 10 best knives of 2023. Now I'm going to share with you guys a couple of timestamps so you can get where you want to go in this video. But I would suggest that you sit here for a second and listen to the context and sort of the introduction to this video. I handled a lot of knives in 2023, but no matter how many knives I've handled or any other content creator, there's always stuff that we miss or we just disagree on or something like that. So if your favorite knife is not on this list, it can still be your favorite knife. This is based on what I handled and what I liked as a design reviewer. So I just wanted to kind of let you guys know there are just certain things that are not going to be here. I uploaded literally almost 800 videos this year. So I tried to get my hands on everything, but I did get my hands on a ton of good stuff, and I cannot wait to share this stuff with you guys. A lot of this stuff is available, but some of it isn't. I will link everything that I possibly can down in the description so that you guys can check it out if you want to. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. We're gonna start off here with some honorable mentions and some other stuff. This is not actually the true top 10. First of all, there were two knives that I wanna mention here that I don't physically have, and I wish that I had gotten my hands on them before I did this video. Number one, the Wee Nefaris, or Nefaris. I can't tell you how many of you guys have told me to get my hands on this knife. I have one coming, at least one, I think multiple. It's just not here yet. I haven't handled it, so I can't actually make it a part of this list, and this video needs to get done considering we are right there at the end of the year. So perhaps I will talk about this knife when it comes in. Maybe it's really, really good. I don't know. I haven't handled it yet. The other one that I'm really disappointed I didn't get my hands on before I did this video is the Rob Johnson's Cedar and Cypress. Now, I have a Cypress coming as well, but it's not quite here yet. These look absolutely phenomenal. I've heard some other people talk about them, but again, I got to handle it before I know what I think. So I wanted to just mention, you know, if you were thinking like you really should have handled these, I agree. Absolutely. But they're not here yet. Moving on here to some other honorable mentions, we got to talk about OTFs because none of the OTFs this year actually made it into my top 10, but holy moly, Microtech had a really good year. Now, you know, the Kershaw Livewire, I really liked it a lot. I think it's probably one of the best value OTF automatic knives of the year. But in terms of design, number one, the Glycon, man, it's just absolutely stunning. It is a stunning overall OTF design, but functionally, I think the new Combat Troodon would take the cake from me, and that's because of how easy it is to operate. I cannot stress this enough. Not only has this knife never failed, I've been carrying and using this knife, it's never failed. That has some of the easiest action on a full-size OTF that I have ever handled. I think Microtech knocked it out of the park with both of these OTFs. Another honorable mention that I have to put in here, and if I were to give it an award, it would be most interesting design, and that's the Reich Cicada. Now, this is, you know, more of a, you know, just a fun knife, right? But as a design reviewer, I really have to highlight this thing. It's wild. This is an absolutely beautiful knife, and this is a titanium integral. Look at the machining here. Never mind how utilitarian it is. I know people get hung up on that, but just understand the amount of design work in this alone is just incredible. It's a button lock. It's not an automatic, and it's not dual-sided, but you actually have to push the button to get the thing to release, and then you can front flip it. But mainly the fact that the thing is milled to imitate almost perfectly a cicada. This is truly beautiful. I do not care about the utility of this thing. I just think the design in this is just absolutely stunning. M390 blade, titanium integral handle, really, really beautiful. I just had to throw that one in there. And then while there are no overbuilt knives that actually made it into the top 10, I do want to give an honorable mention to the Riot T1000 because if I were to give an award for the best overbuilt knife of 2023, this thing easily takes the cake. It's the only one that actually has an interesting element to it outside of just being thick. This is really cool, the way that this lock, or this secondary lock, works. These two Frankenstein pins push in, right? You can push them back out. Once they're in, you can't flip. After the knife is deployed, if you push them in, it cannot disengage, even if the frame lock comes back over, which is really cool. On top of that, this is just an absolutely gorgeous knife. At about 1/4 inch thick and nearly equally thick titanium scales, and just the amount of machining that went into this, this is stunning. Now, if you don't like overbuilt knives, that's fine, but I show a lot of overbuilt knives on this channel, so I know people who are watching might be wondering, which one would be the best of the year? Definitely the Riot T1000 for sure. And I also have to bring up one more knife. I can't include this knife on the best of 2023 for the same reason that I couldn't, list the Riot T1000 for the 2022 list. The prototype came out in 2022, but the actual release of the knife came out in 2023. Same thing with the Winter Blade Co. Severn. This is still a prototype. It hasn't released yet. I have this knife, and let me tell you, if I could include this on the 2023 list, I'm not sure that anything else would have much hope. If you don't know about the Winter Blade Co. Severn, this is quite the knife. This is quite the amazing piece of work there by Brian Winters. But honorable mention, and let's just say it's kind of like next in line for the throne. I mean, he's standing real close to the throne and just not able to quite claim it yet, right? So perhaps we'll see the return of the Severn in 2024. Okay, it's time to move on here. So here's how I'm going to do this. This is the actual top 10 for 2023. We're going to go basically least to most expensive, and I'm going to tell you why, roughly, why I chose it for the list. And then at the very end, I'm gonna sort of give out like weird little awards, like individual awards to each knife, right? But the ordering doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just least to most expensive. And then at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you my overall #1 pick for 2023. So starting off here, the least expensive on the list for 2023, and that's gonna be the Magyar Mojarl. And I'm sure that you guys knew that this was gonna be on the list. This is simply the best budget knife of 2023. And I define budget as anything under $75. You can define it however you want, but this is how I define it here. PVD coated 14C28N titanium pocket clip, peel ply texture G10 scales, wonderful overall EDC profile, very beautifully easy to manipulate, and it really feels like a much higher quality knife. If you pick up one knife off this list, right, and you're on a budget, this is the one. These are available, right? There's a bunch of different configurations. You can get them coated, non-coated, right? But the Mojarl, it's just a ridiculously good budget knife coming in right about 50 bucks. Moving on here, you knew this one was going to be on the list, and that's the Civivi Vision FG. This thing has gotten quite the workout since I have received it. If I was going to give an individual award for this knife, it's going to be best overall value. Not best budget, that's different. Best overall value, dollar for dollar. Not just for this year, but I'm going to be real with you guys. I think the Civivi Vision FG is probably one of the best dollar for dollar pocket knives in existence. This super lock is not a joke. It's not just for fidget factor. It's actually super easy to manipulate. It's an ambidextrous locking system, and it's stupidly durable. I think Snex has tested this thing pretty extensively, either on his Instagram or on YouTube. I love the overall profile. I love the blade profile. I love how compact it is. I love pretty much everything about this knife except for this ridiculous bill for the pocket clip. But there are other clips you can get for this knife, so there you go. At $78, that's really hard to beat. It's really hard for me to say you need to pay more money for a better knife. I mean, jeez, man, the Civivi Vision FG is just incredible. Moving on here, an American-made pocket knife, of course, that's going to be the Kershaw Launch 16, specifically the non-serrated version. That's what I like. I don't cut a lot of twine. So stop saying twine. Twine, metal complex twine. I don't cut twine. If you cut twine, get the serrated version. Best side opening automatic knife of the year, hands down. Like, no, I mean, listen, like ProTech's got lots of cool stuff. There's lots of side opening automatic knives out there, but man, this thing is just stomping through the competition. Nothing even comes close. The Kershaw Launch 16 in M4 has such a classic, awesome, full-size knife profile. Some people aren't going to like the Tanto. Honestly, they probably should release a version of it without the Tanto, but man, this thing is good. CPM M4, and I love the OD green aluminum with the TrackTech inserts. This is such a killer knife. This thing comes in at $150. Wow. Easy win for the Kershaw Launch 16. Man, Kershaw has just been absolutely cranking them out of the park. Launch 16, amazing. Let's move on here. We got to have the Demko Arcade. We have to. And there's a lot of knives now, like this sort of ambidextrous spine lock thing is becoming like a prominent, that we're going to see lots of companies doing this, right? It's hard for me to give like a specific award for this, but with the Demko 80-20.5 being one of my favorite knives of 2022, it was inevitable that another sort of Demko Shark Lock knife would make it on this list. What I love about this knife is, number one, it's made in Taiwan. Number two, it comes with a couple of sets of scales, right? On top of that, it's ambidextrous, S35VN. It's got a little more digestible blade and handle profile. I think this knife probably, I mean, how do I even put words into the award I want to give this thing? This knife caters to a wider audience of people. Excluding the price. Obviously, the least expensive knives are going to cater to the widest audience. But in terms of what this brings to the table, right? It'd be like the Variety Award. This knife is kind of a jack of all trades. It's got a durable lock. It's got a really all-purpose blade shape. It's got an all-purpose steel, right? It's got a profile that's going to be more or less attractive to a really broad range of people. It's not a huge knife. It's not a little knife. It's just kind of like an audience-serving knife. And I think Demko knew exactly what he was doing there, teaming up with Flytame. I love that you can get two sets of scales for this, and you can get the lefty mounted the scale so you can flip the clip over to the other side. That, or they show you a little tutorial about how to put holes in it yourself or something like that. But the Arcade, the Flytanium and Demko Arcade is, yeah, well deserving of a spot on this list for sure. Moving on here, have to include the Olone Goat Axle. I think this is probably the cleanest design of 2023, but that's not the only award that I want to give it. This is a wonderful tool, and it is incredibly well built. I think it's one of the best values for a premium knife in 2023. Did I say 2022? 2023. It's one of the best values for a premium knife in 2023. We have this beautiful, high-polished, tumbled M390 blade, contoured titanium scales, in this case with a micarta inlay, high-tension Omega springs, ambidextrous. One of the only major bummer points here is that we can't flip the clip over to the other side. I really hope Olone decides to... Olone, I think I'm saying it wrong, Olone. But the fact that this is manufactured by Riot. This is not cheap execution despite it being manufactured in China. No, absolutely not. The fact that this comes in at about $255 was honestly, that was a wet canoe paddle to the face, man. I could not believe that Riot was only charging that much. As far as premium knife value goes, wow. Really hard to beat the Olone Go. No wonder the titanium ones are all sold out. I really hope they decide to make more, but man, that is just killer. Absolutely. Moving on here. Here's another knife that everybody knew was going to be on the list. That's on pretty much everybody's list. The Microtech MSI. For the same reason that the next knife is on the list. Like this is one of the very best American-made knives of 2023. I along with many other people, were absolutely shocked. Along with many other people, was absolutely shocked that Microtech not only managed to release multiple knives with this amazing system, right? I have never had a single issue. I've shown this many times on my videos. I've never had any issues with my my ram locks. None of them. I'll do the same on the next knife that I show. You guys already know what it is. Never had any issues. I love that it's a coil spring and not an Omega spring because longevity is just better. I love that it's ambidextrous. I love the overall blade shape. This knife feels like a huge knife when it's opened up and a relatively small knife when it's closed up. We have nested liners. We've got really cool G10 scales, ambidextrous clip mounting position, right? M390MK, which doesn't really mean much to me, but the blade is doing great. I love the blade geometry. $250 for the G10 version, or what is it, $175 for the injection mold plastic version? Yeah, I'm on board with that. And here's the other thing. We've already got, I mean, one company in particular, everybody knows who it is, working on titanium scales and probably lots of other stuff for this thing. There's a bright future for the MSI. Absolutely. One of the best USA releases of 2023. And here's the other one. You guys know what it is. It's the Stitch, right? Same thing. I don't have an issue with the ram lock, right? It's fine. I've got multiple, and I've handled multiple, right? Amphibian, another MSI, another Stitch. None of them. I've had no issues with them. Personally, I like the Stitch a bit more. Now, it is inexplicably more expensive, right? We could say, oh, well, it's slightly more complicated, the blade shape, right? Yeah. I don't know why they charged a little bit more for this guy. I also don't know why they're not doing an injection mold plastic version of this knife for a little bit less, right? I'm hoping if they do that, it comes in at about $200. But I, along with many other people, have been begging for a manual stitch that's not the Borka, which I also own, but good luck paying less than $2,000 for a Borka, right? That's just what they are, because they're custom. We finally have a non-auto manual stitch. It's just a dream come true. It's beautiful, both of these. Now, after they, change the clip, both of them can be mounted for left or right-handed carry. Oh, God. So cool. Not necessarily the most utilitarian in terms of blade geometry, but what an ergonomic masterpiece. My favorite knife for ergonomics ever is the Stitch. I don't care about the short blade to overall handle ratio. I like to be comfortable, and man, am I comfortable holding this knife. It is so easy to manipulate. And this isn't a joy to manipulate, and the scales are contoured. This one in particular is fluted aluminum. Now, like the Stitch, I am very excited and intrigued to find out what type of titanium scales, what type of aftermarket titanium scales we can get for these things, right? But that's another discussion. Yeah. Also, one of the best USA releases for 2023. Moving on here. We gotta talk about this guy. Wee's best release of 2023 and Wee's most impressive release ever, in my opinion, and that's the Wee Knives and GTC Solid. Now, I'm going to say the same thing that I said when I reviewed it and when I put it in multiple other videos. Yes, it does look like robot poop. It does. But if you can get around that, this is a truly impressive feat here. GTC knives have been around for a long time. It is amazing that we can get this level of precision without having to pay the custom prices that GTC demands, right? If you want a real GTC, yeah, you're going to pay a lot of money, right? Your best bet is to get a production collab, and since they don't make the ZT anymore, we have the Wee Solid. Now, this one's a lot more expensive than that one, but that's mainly because this is an integral. Holy crap. I did not know. I knew that this was coming out, right, before I handled it, but I didn't know that it was an integral. That means it's made from a single piece of titanium. Look at the machine work on this. This is Wee's beautiful silver bead blast finish on the titanium. Just stunning. We have the GTC spring-loaded flipper tab. Oh, beautiful. And think whatever you want about this blade, not necessarily a blade that's really going to be great at anything, but it sure is awesome to look at. Wow, what a unique blade shape. GTC always coming up with the most ridiculous geometric. I mean, it looks like it's from another dimension. Honestly, the whole thing looks like it's from another dimension, like it's a 5-dimensional object that's just struggling to exist in this 3-dimensional world. Actually, it's not possible because of the 5th dimension. Shut up! I don't need you to explain the 5th dimension to me. I'm trying to say this is an awesome knife. This guy comes in at about $425, and if you compare this to other super high-end, now I'm not talking about Tucson integrals, I'm talking about something executed like this. Super high-end Chinese integral knife, because you can't do this. If you try to do the same thing in the USA, you're tired. This is a $900, $1,000 knife. It's made in the USA, period, right? But if you look around the competition, super high-end Chinese integral knives executed the same way, it's a miracle if you get anything under $400, right? So really, this is probably, I mean, it's hard. It's like best integral. What do I give this? Probably just most impressive machining of the year, like most impressive overall. My God, this just it exists in its own universe. That's why I say it looks like it's from another dimension, because it is literally unlike anything else this year on the knife market. Moving on here to the ultra premium stuff. I only have a couple here, but I have to include the Hoghouse Veli. I think this might be one of the most beautiful knives that I've ever handled. The Hoghouse Veli really reminds me of like an ultra exotic high-end luxury sports car, right? You mix like the luxury end with like the performance end. And I mean, this thing, it even looks like a hypercar. I think these are probably some of the best lines I've ever seen. It has some of the best details close up. I mean, look at that. This is insane. Absolutely insane. Probably the most impressive, the most appealing overall aesthetic of 2023, right? I'm getting really vague with these things. It also has some of the best flipping action that you will ever experience. This is, simply put, a stunner. And it is not a cheap stunner either. If I remember correctly, this is roughly an $800 knife. But it is nothing like anything else on the lower tiers of this list. While even the GTC from Wii is very beautifully executed as far as the fine-tuning, the internals, right? You pick something like this up and you manipulate it, and you can immediately feel that it's just not in the same caliber. I did not know exactly how good Hoghouse was. I did not realize what level they were on until I actually handled the Veli. This is stunning. It will forever be a part of my collection, and it is absolutely one of the best knives of 2023. And then finally, the most expensive on the list, and that's going to be the Surge and Hawk Rook. Really, the reason that this one is on the list, because this is a really polarizing design. Serge Panchenko is known for making some of the wildest, like one of the wildest, like most unique looking knives. But then Hawk is known for doing the most innovative systems that either lock or throw blades. Of course, right? You guys remember the Orbit. We all know the deadlock, right? This is a toggle detent. So there's nothing, I mean, like, let alone 2023, I've never handled anything from any year that feels exactly like this. And if you go back and watch my videos on the one that went to Levon of the Knife Nuts podcast, this has an Ultim front scale, so you can see through it. You can see the toggle detent working. This is not an Omega Spring operated crossbar lock, not at all. We just have a button or a switch on the outside, and the toggle detent allows it to sort of click right here. There's a little toggle system that clicks back and forth and allows it's creating the detent. So when you throw the blade, you're met with this incredibly unique experience. But on top of that, it's built, custom made here in the United States. This is incredibly solid. It's not just a fun collectible fidget piece. This is a pretty serious piece of cutlery. It's just kind of awkwardly shaped. I would say, like, most satisfying, most innovative, maybe you could say that. There's a lot of innovation this year, right? It's really hard to not give that to Brian Winters, but I can't really do that because his piece this year has got to be maybe included in 2024. But most satisfying, definitely one of the most innovative things, and just one of the strangest knives that I've handled this year. I would say also most satisfying flip, right? The only issue with this is that it's horrifically expensive. I mean, it's a custom knife. I mean, I understand, right? Well worth it for people buying knives in that tier. But yeah, that's what I can say about it. I love that I own this knife, and I had to include it on the list there. So a lot of mid-range stuff this year, a few hyper expensive things, and a couple of budget knives. What's my overall pick for the year? I'm going to be real with you. I struggled not choosing. I struggled to not choose the Vision FG. So I'm going to tell you right now, the Vision FG, the Civivi Vision FG, ended up in second place overall for 2023, and the reason is it is incomprehensibly good for a $78 knife. I mean, listen, if you only buy one knife this year, I mean, shoot, if you can only afford one knife for the year, this is it. This is it right here, okay? It's got everything you could want besides a perfect pocket clip, and you can switch that out. But truly exceptional. However, I couldn't choose it for number one. I had to go with my gut. The knife that brought me the most joy for so many reasons. We consider where it's made. I live in the USA. I'm biased, okay? I can do that. This is my channel. I make this rectangle right here. I control this space absolutely. This is my domain. Where it's made, the fact that it is able to be manipulated with the right or left hand, the overall look, the overall feel, the manipulation, right? How many boxes are checked for me personally? Yeah, it's a stitch. Best of 2023. Now, no matter what I pick, right? If you're, I just made so much spaghetti in my pants, you can't choose that. Listen, you can like whatever you want, right? No matter what I pick, I make a whole bunch of people happy, right? But way more people upset. Only one knife can be chosen, so of course I expect that a bunch of people won't like my pick. That's fine. That's totally okay. You can like whatever you want. Your list for the year might be completely different than mine, but this absolutely is my number one pick for 2023. The Ramlock Stitch. Had to be. The joy this knife gave me when I finally got my hands on it. I love carrying this knife. This knife has dominated my pockets. I absolutely love it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is fun to do. It's the most stressful video of the year, right? Because I really have to think about this. And you guys, you know that I start kind of, obviously the whole year, I'm kind of building towards this, and I'm collecting all this information. I'm uploading all this content. Again, almost 800 uploads this year. So a lot of that is the same knife in different, formats, but I handled a lot of stuff. So it's really hard to narrow it down and think exactly why, right? Value has a lot to do with it. Being able to manipulate it easily has a lot to do with it. The execution and quality and just the attention-grabbing nature of the design itself. All of those things sort of wrap together. That's what goes into my picks. So I hope you can understand that. And if I didn't pick your favorite knife, I hope you can forgive me. Either way, this is the video. It's not changing. But anything I did miss, if I can get my hands on it, of course, I'll talk about it when I unbox it or do the reviews, right? Maybe this should have been included had I received it earlier, et cetera, et cetera. And if you feel like I missed something, right, there's a chance that I handled it and just didn't like it that much, or that I would have included it had the list been a top 50 or something like that. But if you felt like I missed something, of course, let me know down in the comments. Happy to discuss it with you. Like I said, as many of these as possible, link down below. That's going to be it. Thanks so much for being a part of the Metal Complex YouTube channel in 2023. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.